birthday today. And so wishing you an absolutely fantastic birthday, and we do hope that you're having a very blessed one. A bit of history for today. In the year 1099, the First Crusade saw 15,000 starving Christian soldiers marching in religious procession around Jerusalem as its Muslim defenders looked on. In 1497, on this day, Portuguese navigator Vasco da Gama departed on his first voyage, and which became the first European to reach the sea, to reach India, by sea. In the year 1777, Vermont, it was independent at that time, introduced a new constitution prohibiting slavery. In the year 1800, on this day, Dr. Benjamin Waterhouse gave the first cowpox vaccination in the United States to his son to prevent smallpox. In the year 1948, on this day, witnessed the 500th anniversary of the Russian Orthodox Church, and that was celebrated in Moscow. And in 1949, on this day, South Africa's Prohibition of Mixed Marriages Act commenced, prohibiting marriage or a sexual relationship between white people and people of other races. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought to you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. Need all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasware and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to my nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries, Bosses Grocery Lakes, and Flag Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program for today, for this Monday. And we do hope that you had a blessed weekend. Of course, we have got some very sad news just yesterday, and that was the passing or transitioning to the other side of a gentleman who is certainly and rightly being described as a gentle giant, that of Dr. George Martin Didier. He, of course, was a gentleman who made a significant contribution to St. Lucia, in particular in his field of medicine, in particular as a cardiologist, as an internist, in so very many areas where he was a pioneer in terms of even groundbreaking work, which he did, of course, right here in St. Lucia where he practiced, but certainly his impact on medicine around the Caribbean. And he, of course, I think in the first instance has to be described as a remarkably humble individual, even though he was so very eminent in his field, so very well qualified, so brilliant in so very many ways, but very, very much down to earth. And so in terms of some of the tributes that that certainly are being seen coming out of individuals who knew him in so many different ways, not necessarily in the medical field, but just in general, people he interacted with. Of course, he was a very well-read individual, and so he had very broad opinions and was always willing to have a good and healthy chat and conversation, and to share his knowledge, and to give comfort to so many different people who, of course, were his patients over the years, and to give them hope and comfort. And so certainly, even at this time, realization of his own mortality, which of course comes to all of us, it so is really important to note that at the end of the day, we all have to face that mortality. And the really important thing is the contribution that we make to our fellow human beings, our fellow men and women, who in fact we are called to serve. And he certainly served in very, very many ways. He, as I mentioned, was of course, a St. Lucian, a pioneer, and he was very interested in, had a very analytical mind, a very research-driven mind, and if I remember, he was very, very interested in research, for instance, in that of the possibilities of using our fenella snake, for instance, in medicine, and in applying what was into some very interesting research that was being done around the world, using the fenolus and the venom that could be extracted from it. And of course, that just went to show, certainly he wanted to see um, our very own country do better and to make a contribution throughout the world. Of course, he was very instrumental in assisting in the establishment of Tapio Hospital, but did a lot of work as well for individuals, even pro bono, and so certainly we have to give him due praise and recognition. Of course, there was also a tribute that came from the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association yesterday, and just to very quickly share that. It is with profound sadness that the executive and members of the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association announced the passing of Dr. George Martin Didier, SLC, St. Lucia Cross, CBE, commander of the British Empire, MBBS, DM, Med, a fellow of the Royal College of Physicians, FACP, FESC, FAAC. Dr. Didier was a true stalwart of medicine here in St. Lucia and the Caribbean, a physician, mentor, and friend to many, a true pioneer of medical cooperation throughout the Caribbean, one who believed that we are duty bound to serve our fellow men. St. Lucia and the rest of the Caribbean have truly lost a gentle giant of the field of medicine. And we extend our most sincere condolences to his wife, Dr. Mary Grandison Didier, his daughters, Dr. Melanie Didier, Dr. Leah Didier, and his extended family. May his soul rest in peace. And that's our dish of the day.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tells for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tells for your balcony. Come down to Tells Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tells Plus, Tells Plus, Tells Plus. Big tells with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. Need all kind of tells. Come down to Tells Plus. We also got gas and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tells on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Jugos Lanes, and Flag Street in Viewfort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tells Plus.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And it was quite a busy weekend for the for Calypso, of course. Sorry, not for Calypso, but for soca and Carnival in general. And we witnessed on Saturday the finale of the Groovy and Power Soca Monarch competitions. And again, a very interesting competition. Two parts, of course. One song each in the groovy as well as the power soca competitions, and of course the outcomes there in the groovy. Sly taking the Monarch with the tune "Damn Proud Lucian," and Mr. Ricky T, who's now on to Number 23, interesting enough, different titles which he's held in Groovy and Power. He took the Power Soca crown with Look Something to Talk About. This year, the prize money has been increased. It was in fact $40,000 each for the Monarchs, and the other individuals, like third runners up, I think taking in as much as 15,000, and so a very wide amount being provided to the winners of these songs, these competitions. And also over with Panorama, which also came to the fore yesterday, the winners there, well, of course, I think they're on to the sixth time right now, and that is Courts Babano Steel. So we certainly want to extend congratulations to all those who were performing over the weekend and who put on a very remarkable show of talent. And certainly, we've got lots to be proud of in terms of the quality of what is being done, the quality of the music, the quality of the production as well. So it's because, of course, it takes quite a lot, and especially when you're dealing with these orchestras, these steel orchestras. You're bringing together so many people, scores of people to be able to make it happen. So we definitely want to congratulate them. Second runner up in the steel pan competition, Panorama, sponsored by Republic Bank, was Pan Time Steel Orchestra, and they put on We Rule, and that's from the Reasons Band. And first runner up, that was Fantastic Music Steel Orchestra, and they put on William Peter, a song by Invader. The winning rendition was We Shall Hop by Jonty. And as of course, as we mentioned, the Quartz Babano Steel Orchestra now on to their sixth consecutive year winning the title. So certainly it is very commendable to them and the individuals who put it together. And of course, a big kudos to Mr. Allison Marquis and his team, and of course, for bringing it home for Pan. And tonight is the King and Queen of the Bands. That's on. That's a free show that is being put on at the SAB. Uh, I'm seeing all sorts of different spellings of the SAB. Interestingly enough, I mean, it actually is just from a Creole perspective, SAB. From the French, sab, sand, SABLES. But we're seeing some very interesting spellings coming out of the SAB at this point. But definitely, that is going to be on. And of course, it's also a free show, as I mentioned, and there is going to be performances, feature performances with music and entertainment, and so it's definitely something to come out to enjoy as we continue to move into full force with the carnival. This is a very, very, very busy week, the week before, and no doubt there'll be so many different events to take in. There's also I think Mass on the Square or Mass in the City this year as well. Happening at the Derek Walcott Square from Wednesday. So there are some free shows also being put on for the enjoyment of all. But of course, Carnival has become a significant business, and it is pulling in quite a crowd when it comes to the visitors, people who are coming in, and to the chagrin of some, perhaps even buying out the tickets before people can even get a chance for many of these various parties as goes by. So certainly, it seems to be the major event, and of course, we've known that for quite some time. And as we speak about the impact of it, recently there were some figures coming out of the Ministry of Tourism giving an update for the up to the month of May, a year to date update for that period. And of course, May was when we saw the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. And based on the performance metrics, stayover arrivals were up 9% from 2023 and up 6% from 2019, which of course we mentioned 2019 was the record year um, up to that point, of course, and that's when we peaked. And then, of course, there came COVID-19, and which caused tremendous hardship for the tourism sector. So we, in fact, have now surpassed that 2019 figure for that year-to-date period up to May. And growth was led by the U.S. market in the month of May. And in fact, I think about 21,000 persons came out of the United States. About that represents nearly two-thirds, well, not really quite two-thirds, but 58%, of the arrivals for that month. And of course, followed by the United Kingdom with about 6,227. The Caribbean came back pretty strong. And of course, this is within the time of jazz. So we saw a fair number of Caribbean visitors, 5,700. Canada, 1,800. Rest of the world, just the rest of Europe, just under 1,000. And rest of the world, 500. Cruise also was up 78% over 2023, and a recovery of about 70% of the 2019 figures. So definitely higher than 2023, but still not quite there in terms of surpassing the 2019 figures for cruise. Yacht arrivals also has a ways to go. Also up over 2023, yes, but only about three-quarters of the 2019 arrivals. So for up to year to date, total arrivals represented 660,000 individuals. I believe that, of course, also includes the cruise figures. How long are people staying? Well, in fact, that average length of stay is down. It's about 6.9 nights per visitor at this point, and that's down from 7.5 in 2019. So people actually are staying a little shorter than before. That could possibly be where they're coming from, of course, and as more tourists are coming out of the U.S. proportionally, they have shorter vacation periods, so that's probably one of the drivers in that regard. About 73% of all visitors stayed in hotels. Another 21% stayed in shared economy. So these are short-term rentals, Airbnbs, guest houses, that sort of thing. And about 6% stayed in villas and apartments. And that represented about 206,000 bed nights across the sector. So just thought I should share some of that data, which had been put out by the Ministry of Tourism, and specifically, in fact, the St. Lucia Tourism Authority and the Statistics Department. And as well, they did mention that airlift is up. We had about 4,800 more seats than we had compared to last May. And that was as a result of additional seats out of New York through JetBlue, as well as Atlanta and Heathrow through Virgin Atlantic. Also, some new routes, as we mentioned, we've been following out of Barbados with Caribbean Airlines. Also, Air Adelphi connecting us to Martinique as well as St. Vincent. And now Sunrise Airways also connecting into Antigua. And that, of course, has helped in terms of our Caribbean airlift as of now. And there were some projections regarding June And that was, in fact, that there's going to be a 10% increase in stayover arrivals in June because of a rise in seats, as well, of course, the hosting of ICC Cricket World Cup last month. So it's a pretty interesting time for tourism, and no doubt we'll probably be hearing a lot more of that in terms of the impact of Carnival on our tourism arrival figures. But we're due for our weather at this time, so we're going to take that in right now.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige, and gray tiles with the tile stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me, please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my number one store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And that's all, of course, on the 1.1. It's now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bar. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. Winds will be blowing from the east near 17 miles per hour or 28 kilometers per hour. The weather fair and hazy, becoming cloudy at times with a few showers. There is an advisory in here which reads that persons with respiratory ailments and dust allergies should take the necessary precautions due to reduced air quality. Also, small craft operators are advised to exercise caution due to reduced visibility. The forecast for the Les Antilles, partly cloudy to cloudy and hazy with scattered light to moderate showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms over the northern half of the region. Elsewhere, fair and hazy, becoming cloudy at times with a few showers. Tropical weather outlook: moisture and instability left in the wake of a tropical wave will produce some cloudy periods with scattered showers and possibly isolated thunderstorms over the northern portion of the Les Antilles during the next 24 hours. A plume of Saharan dust haze will cause a reduction in visibility and air quality across the region during the next couple of days. Another tropical wave located over the eastern tropical Atlantic is moving westward near 50 miles per hour or 24 kilometers per hour. And this was the weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige, and gray tiles with the tile stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me, please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my number one store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Of course, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so, it is 4523046. Again, 4523046. And you can also message in on WhatsApp or as well in our Facebook Live group. That WhatsApp number is 7240008. And on Facebook, of course, you just got to get onto the live stream and send in your messages and comments there. Now, uh, another bit of interesting European politics at play in a shocking turnaround. France seems to have averted a win by the National Rally, the party of Marie Le Pen, the party of the far right, a party that perhaps not too long ago would have been considered anathema for most French people. They were seen as extremists. Their message certainly would not have generally resonated by the majority. But guess what? They performed pretty well in the first round of voting. And this was, of course, in response to a snap election, which was called by Mr. Macron, the president of the Fifth Republic, of the French Republic. And that was because of a very good showing by the ultra right or the far right in the European parliamentary elections. And that caused for such concern in the state of play in France that he, in fact, called elections ahead of time. Now, France has a slightly different system to that of the United States in that they actually do have a parliament, and the parliament, in fact, will have a cabinet coming out of that parliament. Even though there is also a president who does yield a fair bit of executive power, certainly. And Emmanuel Macron is, in fact, the president for a little while still. I think he goes up to the year 2027. But of course, so he is remaining president. But this switch that has happened, of course, is for the legislature, the legislative body, the National Assembly. The 577 seats of that assembly were up for grabs. And it was a two-part voting system. The first round happened back on June the 30th, and the second round was yesterday. And in the first round, uh, it really did look like it was going to be a major swing towards the ultra right, the National Rally Party. They, in fact, came out on top in the first round of voting. And uh, the major issue at play is that of immigration. And there are many individuals who have now fallen behind and in terms of the support that these parties are holding on the issue of immigration. France is an interesting situation, of course, because it is a former colonial power. And so, of course, it has had and still does have, well, you could say colonies, but parts of overseas departments, as it is now known as, which exist, right here in the Caribbean with Martinique and Guadeloupe and French Guyana and a few others, and all around the world, into the Pacific and the Indian Ocean. And these are departments of France, but it had certainly a significant presence in Africa, and it developed that presence, subsequent to this period of industrialization and the Berlin Conference, and so many parts of Africa, including North Africa, were colonized by France, and of course, quite famously, Algeria. Well, right up until the 1950s, was in fact a colony of France, and so it has seen significant migration of individuals who fell within these former colonies. And of course, since the Arab Spring, we've seen tremendous instability in neighboring countries as well, across the region. So, from Morocco to Algeria to Tunisia, um, Lebanon, for instance. France has had certainly a very important impact on these countries, and French has been the lingua franca of these countries to some degree as well. It was the language of the elites, the language of the intelligentsia, and it still is used in academia in places like Morocco. So the French footprint in North Africa was very much extensive, and so since with all this instability, we've been seeing a continued rise in the level of immigrants in France, and of course across all of Europe. And this matter has, and it's not just northern North Africa, but also other regions of Africa are seeing large numbers of individuals from France, as well as the Middle East, because of the instability in places like Syria, for instance, but even others like Yemen. We certainly are seeing the impact of a shifting of the culture of places like France. And this, of course, has been a very divisive matter, because we've seen the banning of certain headdresses in France, for instance, the burqa, because of the fear, of course, that individuals may not be able to be properly recognized. So it is certainly a major, major issue. According to their last census, for instance, nearly 7 million people were foreign born living in France, which represented somewhere about 10% of the population. One could say that tends to be a higher percentage compared to Europe on a whole. And of course, a lot of that has to deal with that reality. Now, another thing about this spread of immigrants is that they are largely centered around Greater Paris, the Ile-de-France. Somewhere about 40% of immigrants lived in Greater Paris, and perhaps that figure is rising even more. So Paris is the magnet for immigrants, and you would, of course, tend to find that the larger cities are where people who are coming in for the first time will tend to gravitate to, because of that belief, of course, that there is greater gain, greater opportunity for them in these major centers, and it's very much so in the case of France. However, this in some respects also gives you a sense of the map of for voting, and because when you again look at the situation of the election, very similar to the case where in the United States, the more liberal areas tend to be in the suburbs, in the city centers, and once you get out in the rural areas, it becomes a lot more conservative. And this is pretty much replicated in a fair bit of, in the case of France, with, of course, some specific regional disparities there. But it's as a result of an effort of strategic voting the far right was in fact held off, and it ended up being a victory for the far left. But I think we've got a call coming in at this time. Let's take in a call. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. What's on
Good
your plate
afternoon,
today?
Mr. George.
How are you doing, sir?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah,
Wonderful.
France go as far as near Australia, New Caledonia.
Yes.
There's some island as far as Australia.
And French
Caledonia
Polynesia.
Nouvelle.
Yes. Nouvelle Caledonie, and as well Tahiti, and French Polynesia. So yes, they've
the Polynesian, yeah.
certainly lots of colonies all over the
And
world.
the other thing is, we will have to look good because right now, Labour back in England, and they back with the landslide.
Yep.
So the British Constitution will come in full force.
Well, it's going to be interesting in both France as well as England and the United Kingdom at this point. The issues are very similar. Of course, in the case of the UK, if they've already, after 14 years of the Conservatives and having to witness Brexit, there's no doubt that that may very well, as the pressure continues to rise, the impacts of Brexit on the UK economy. It'll be very interesting to see whether, in fact, that issue will be broached again regarding a second referendum, regarding trying to renegotiate or to somehow come up with a better situation with respect to the UK and its relationship to the rest of Europe. And of course, many saw it as a response to immigration too. Lots of immigrants coming from not just outside of Europe, but from inside of Europe itself. Many immigrants from Eastern Europe were headed to the United Kingdom. So in the case of France, they've also got some significant divisions, and there will be no majority there. There's no party has an absolute majority, and so there will have to be a coalition formed.
But do you know that the people that, if you come from Africa, you have to give a certain amount of service in France before you could work for the government of France. But if you come from Martinique, if you come from Guadeloupe, I think even St. Lucia, you can go and work for the government straight away, like working in hospital, in post office and things like that. Those jobs there. The people from the Caribbean, they will employ them. But the African, you have to spend a certain amount of time before you could do those jobs.
Well, I'm honestly not aware of the particular arrangements, but of course, people in Martinique and Guadeloupe are French citizens, eh? So
yeah, they would in France.
They would be eligible for everything that any other French citizen is eligible for in terms of work and what have you. So there could not be any discrimination upon them, at least not officially, any form of discrimination.
But how come France had so many countries in Africa? Not one, not two, not three. They almost rule Africa.
Yeah,
they look on them as if they are foreigners, where coming from the West Indies and some part in other countries, they just look on you as you are one of.
Well, remember these major European countries were all looking for empires, and they needed empires for the purpose of gaining and extracting wealth, and so France looked to Africa significantly to be able to do that. Remember, Britain at that point would have already had significant interest in India. It would have had Australia. It would have, of course, already sort of won the war, so to speak, in terms of Canada. and certain elements within the West Indies, more so than France. And so when Africa became this, this sort of place where many of these countries were saying, well, we can now begin to form an empire. Many of them
Yeah,
went in
but
a
places
major way
like
to do
New
so.
Orleans and
Well, Louisiana was a much
Louisiana and
well.
most
Those
of those
those were
countries
lost in the
in
early.
America, they was French.
Right, they not right, but remember France went through this entire period under Napoleon. There's the French Revolution. There was that period when Napoleon started off his wars, uh, and those lands were eventually lost. In fact, well, not when I say lost, they had to be sold to
Yeah, they did
to
so
the
to
Americans,
the Americans.
right, through the Louisiana Purchase of 1803, I believe. So it was no they no longer had these large territories west of the Mississippi, and then they had already lost Upper Canada,
Quebec.
Quebec,
Quebec was
Newfoundland.
French, and they.
Yeah, right. So these were all French, but they were all lost by virtue of the Treaty of Paris in 1763. So they had already lost a lot of these colonies, and so this was part of the reason why they went, of course, with this new drive for Africa, they saw it as an opportunity to be able to gain more territory, gain more control and influence around the world. And so you're right, they actually proportionally speaking, they had a significant uh, chunk of Africa carved out under their name, including regions of West Africa. So many parts. I mean, Cote d'Ivoire, of course, but Senegal and um, Guinea and Mali, Chad, uh, Niger. Most of these
You have Upper Holz, you
Cameroon.
have
There was
Chad, you have
Cameroon as well. There was the French. They also had parts of Central Africa, like the French Congo or Congo Brazzaville.
that's the biggest. That's the biggest.
Well, no. Well, remember the Belgians had
Belgium. Well,
Belgians had
they
the
call the
larger
Belgium
part
call
of
the
Congo.
backyard anyway.
Right. So the Belgian king had that as his personal colony, as it was called under King Leopold II. But
Leopold.
but France certainly did have significant shareholding. Well, not shareholdings, but territory, if you want to call it that, conquered in their name in West Africa and Central Africa. Um, and then as well, I think in parts of they did have some sections in Southern Africa. I think Malawi, for instance, came under their influence as well. So yeah, Togo, I think as well. So a number of the colonies there, um, these people ended up speaking French, and they adopted at some level or were forced to adopt certain French culture, and that of course meant that in terms of where they saw um, their future in terms of relationships, and in some instances these were forced as well, like the Central African franc. The monetary policy was effectively managed by the Bank of France, and that still has been a very topical matter of late with all that is going on right now in places like Niger and the coups that are happening. There's a pretty strong rejection of this influence at
Yeah,
this
but
time.
now they're trying to even adopt the Russians in
Well,
some
that
of
is
those.
correct, exactly. And so we're seeing the influence of Russia in Africa becoming well, I mean, there was an influence during the communist period, and Russia has been trying to reassert itself in this current period as sort of a supporter of, and they're coming in the name of anti-colonialism, yeah,
Yeah,
interestingly
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
but
Well,
but of course, we can appreciate that they too have their own agendas, no doubt.
well,
Uh,
we even there in the Caribbean, we get Cuba, we get Venezuela, we get a lot of the other countries. The Russian try to put their foot down
mhm,
on
mhm,
the land there.
mhm. I mean, and one can say too, to a certain extent, when you look at Russia as a country, I mean, we think of it as it is not in any way homogenous. Yeah? So the Rus, the Russians really coming out of the western part of Russia, the more European part of Russia, west of the Ural Mountains, but Russia invaded significant regions, in Siberia and what have you, and these populations don't often necessarily identify themselves, in the way that we think. There's a very, it's a pretty ethnically diverse region, our country. Although we think of it as a European country, because really the power lies with Moscow, lies with.
Yeah, but Russia come all boundary with Turkey.
Almost.
Yeah,
It used to once upon a time.
all down there, and Turkey
It used
is
to,
one of the
because
member of the United Nation. So a little again, Russia could have joined the United Nations.
the USSR used to border with Turkey, and of course that's because they had all these various Soviets, Georgia and Armenia. They were all part of the USSR. So certainly the influence over the Black Sea, and that's a major issue for Russia in terms of its access to all-weather ports, and which is what, in part we've seen major conflict with Ukraine being about, with the control of Crimea.
The Czech Republic, they all went and joined the
right, that grouping of the USSR. Yes, well they were, it's not, they weren't quite part of the USSR, but they were part of the Iron Curtain, as it was called.
The Iron Curtain.
Yeah.
The Iron Curtain.
Yeah. So certainly
that's what Reagan tell them. Mr. Gorbachev, take down that wall, take down the Iron Curtain.
Yes.
Mr. Gorbachev.
Yeah. And it's interesting, of course, because of this situation between France and Russia. I mean, one can say that this is an old and long-standing rivalry in some respects, going back to the days of Napoleon and what have you. But what is going on in Africa, of course, with respect to France, is an interesting one. And of course, is it a matter of you can't have your cake and eat it too? You wanted, dominance over Africa and influence and benefits and whatnot. And this is a lot of Algerians perhaps also feel this way as well, because of course we saw the war that was fought and the way that the French left Algeria. So I mean, it's a very interesting state of play with respect to its relations with Africa.
Yeah, but the French fight bitter with the Algerian.
Yeah, they did. And then of course they depend very heavily on nuclear power, and so of course this is part of the situation with Niger, and access to uranium is coming out of Africa was really important for the French, and still is. So, well, yeah, it's one of the interesting situations that Europe is finding itself in. How is it going to maintain?
And look at America now. America, they was telling number one in the world and this, that, and the other. I can see America going down. I don't know if everybody see America like I see in America, as if they don't have no plot, they don't have no plan. Just imagine you take a woman like Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, the vice president.
And
yes.
you make her deputy. So the deputy always, anything happen to the
president,
mm-hmm. She taking over. Now they said she cannot take over. She cannot do this and she cannot do that. People can only 2 or 3 times they see her eyes. So why they make her deputy for vice president?
Well, that'll be the most interesting election to come still, which a lot of people are looking towards come November, and to see the outcome of the that U.S. election. It'll certainly be A
Yeah,
very,
but
very difficult
sometimes
one.
we don't put, we don't like to bring the color in. But is is it because Kamala Harris is a black woman that they keep her back like that? Why Biden took her and then they hide, as if they hide her?
Well, I would say though that the position of vice president in the United States has always been a funny one, in terms of how much influence the vice president can ever really have, and so
Yeah, but um,
yeah,
uh,
it's. I know what you're saying though, and of course, it is a big question as to especially at a time like this, what is the plan for succession, given the fact that we've seen Joe Biden's situation. I mean, the debate that just went by, and of course his major gaffe there, and lots of people are even calling for him to step aside at this point. Uh,
well,
some
if
people,
they ask me, I'd say he should step aside. If they ask me, so far I can see, that man should step aside.
and there's some people who say that he's their best shot as well in terms of the Democrats. That they will not be able
Yeah,
to find
because what
anybody else to.
they should do, they didn't do it, and now they catch in a trap
Well,
like a rat.
it might be too late to for him to do anything else, and that's really the big challenge that is being faced right now with the Democrats. How to move forward on this one? They really have found themselves in a tight pickle, and I'm not sure if it's looking too bright for the Democratic Party at this
It's
point in
not bright
time.
at all.
Yeah.
It's not bright at all. What I can see there, and to me, a few months left for the election, but yet still, I think Biden might get worse by that time the election comes.
Hmm.
You see, because I think the man, I cannot say it myself, but they're talking about he might be in the first stage of senile
Yeah,
dementia.
a lot of speculation, no doubt, and it's going to be very difficult, I think, to gain the confidence of the voting population. And this is something
But
that I think
it's quite
we knew
a few
for a
months to
while.
go. So why they don't he don't just say, well, I throw in the towel and let Kamala come in and see if the people will accept.
Well, based on what he's saying, unless if the God Almighty comes to tell him that, he was probably
It's
not going
very
to do so.
selfish.
So
Selfish.
we're gonna have to only be able to wait and see on this one. Of course, we have no influence on that.
Anyway,
Have a
good
good one,
afternoon, Mr.
caller.
Judge.
All
Nice
right then,
talking to
take
you.
care. And of course, we were talking about the French general election, but just quickly as I mentioned, the effective outcome of the second round of voting is effectively means that the leading party has in fact become the Nouveau Front Populaire, the NFP, which is the party of the left, and then comes the other major player, the centrist party of Emmanuel Macron, Ensemble. They in fact came in second, and then third place being the party of Marine Le Pen. They came in fact, they came in third, and they had about 143 seats to Ensemble's 174, and Nouveau Front Populaire, NFP, they have 182 seats. The other right parties of the right, Republican, CNI, they have 60 seats, and Décidant Gauche, which is a left wing party, of course, 13, and Décidant Droite, they got no seats, and another 5 seats going to some um, other members, independents, and what have you. So a very interesting situation, of course, which would mean that a coalition would have to be formed in the coming days and weeks ahead. easier said than done, of course, and we'll have to wait to see the outcome there. That's all the time we have today here at the lunchroom, and we do hope that you have a blessed day, of course. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.
Plug into Digicel Plus Home Fiber Internet and get even more entertainment with Disney Plus included. Stream the best of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic all in one place. Whenever you want, plug into Digicel Plus. Enjoy Disney Plus and much more with a home fiber bundle starting as low as $136 per month. Enjoy lightning fast speed starting at 250 megabytes all the way up to 1 gig. Sign up for Digicel Plus package at a Digicel store or call 106 for more information.
A company that you can trust withstood the test of time, providing the best quality so you can have peace of mind, building the community one day at a time. In the products that we offer, you guarantee to find strength and security and affordability for the latest technology. You can count on Caribbean Metals. We've got you covered. Caribbean Metals, better value for your money. Caribbean Metals, satisfaction guaranteed. Caribbean Metals, you know we've got you covered. Guaranteed.
Touchdown and dive straight into Carnival spirit. Join us for the ultimate welcome party where jet setters become carnival goers in the blink of an eye. Let the rhythms of the island welcome you as we kick off an incredible carnival season. The official welcome event to St. Lucia Carnival on Outrageous Wednesday. Hello! On Wednesday, July 10th, 2024 from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. Shorts and Sneakers edition. It's all happening at the Gaiety on Rodney Bay. Performing live from Trinidad, Waddix, Urbanals, Nyla Blackman and Nicole Deja, all backed up by the All-Stars Band. And from St. Lucia, Ezra the Fun Machine, Imran Nuddy, Cedil, Bronx and Mata, Ricky T, Booyah, Love to Funny, all backed up by DYP Band. Hello! Brought to you by Barry Ike, The Wave St. Lucia, and Soca Ultimate. Get your tickets at fourcirclestickets.com. Remember, it's Hello! Outrageous Wednesday, July 10th at the Gaiety on Rodney Bay.
Introducing Digicel's all-new prepaid Prime Ultra bundles that give you more value for your money, packed with more end-use data than ever before, which rolls over once you auto-renew. Enjoy endless social data to text on Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Entertainment data for the apps you love, Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok. Plus, endless Digicel to Digicel calls on all bundles. Minutes for other local calls and regional and international minutes on the 5-day Prime Ultra bundle or higher. You never miss a beat. Activate a Digicel Prime Ultra bundle today in the My Digicel app for as low as $6.99. Digicel, better connected to the best LTE network.
Wednesday, July 10th, MYNT invites you to Retro Wednesday, featuring 7-time Soca Monarch and 10-time Road March King from Trinidad. Super Blue. Super Blue. Also from Trinidad, Ronnie McIntosh.
Well, yes, this is yours truly, Ronnie McIntosh.
Ronnie McIntosh. And the St. Lucian veterans, Monster, Her Black, Invader, Ashanti, and TC Brown. Retro Wednesday. Wednesday, July 10th at the Lamar Waterfront in Rodney Bay.
Yours truly, Ronnie, Super Blue, and many more.
Let's go. Be Super Blue.
Get your $100 tickets while you can at Four Circles, New Style Hair Studio, Caribbean Blends, East Barbershop, and all sell outlets. For more information, contact 715-2596.
Butts out. Keep our public spaces smoke-free this carnival season. Healthier for you, safer for me. Let's all take responsibility for our health this carnival season. A message from the Substance Abuse Advisory Council Secretariat with the support of the Pan American Health Organization.
The future of communication is here. Say hello to eSIM at Digicel. Use your Digicel number without a physical SIM card in your phone, and your data, minutes, and SMS all there. eSIM works with prepaid and postpaid. Activate more than one eSIM on the same device and use